Shell, the FootyCast, live from BackChat Studios. Welcome. That's the Southern River Band playing their hearts out. They're on a national tour right now, and you are here, right here, BackChat Studios. Mark Reddings, Will Schofield. Hello, Skeet. How was your weekend?
Hello, Scully. Yeah, full of footy, all waffle action. Of course, no AFL to talk about. Well, nothing to really touch on because we're waiting for Thursday night for the footy, but a bit still happening in the AFL landscape. And the West Coast Eagles, you were front and centre at the Club Champion Awards. Good night, and the right result with Tim Kelly.
Yes, you might be the hardest working man in football. I think. Like you just.
Well, I don't have a full-time job, so I just have to keep saying yes to every offer that comes my way. But no, I had 2 good games of footy. But no, I'm looking forward to September, end of September. And then I'll just check out for a bit.
This week is going to look a little bit strange. Thursday will be a normal preview show, but today's show, it's a bit of a mixed bag. We're just going to whip through all things in sport. There's plenty going on. We'll try and find a thirsty camel clanger of the week for you. Trying to think of mine, but I reckon I'll find something.
I'll find something. I was thinking, as soon as you said that, I thought Lee Spur did the boundary for us on Saturday and Sunday.
Oh my!
So he just loves Spurry, as you do as well. But there's always just something, because you just know when there's players involved. He interviewed one guy. And he just said, mate. He didn't know his name. His name's Michael Selwood. But he just has the ability, Spurry, to turn up with sometimes not even a pen. Sometimes he just rocks up without anything and just says, right, I'm ready to go. Who's playing? In the waffle.
You could call that a roll of the dice, Skeeter.
Yes.
22nd of September, Friday, 6 p.m. Dice will be playing down at Shelter Brewing Co. Down in Busselton. Make sure you get your tickets, book some accommodation down there. It is the long weekend, so it'll be absolutely heaving down there. What's your favourite Dice song, Skeeter?
It's too hard to put it into one sort of word or 2 or 3 words. It's just a great compilation of music that I'm very fond of. And you know that I've got... I heard the song play that you played on that machine there a few weeks ago.
Thank you very much, Skeeter.
Anyway, I don't know any of their music, but I like them.
Yes, I like them too. So make sure. I don't know. You should have asked me my favourite.
Okay, well, what's yours, Bugger Lugs?
Yeah, I'm with Skeeter. I love them all. No, I from all regards, it's going to be a big show down there.
Oh, yeah, good. Yeah, it's well covered.
Skeet and Scully won't be down there, though, unfortunately.
Won't we?
Well, you want to go down?
Oh, it's grand final weekend in the waffle, so probably a bit...
You'll be working.
A bit remiss of
You'll be working. Let's get into some of the big stuff that's going around right now, Skeeter. There's a fair bit going on. I think we start with the pre-finals bye. Just in general, like for one, it leaves us on a Monday not knowing what to talk about. So that's one thing. But there's bigger issues at play here. I think the AFL is missing out on a real opportunity to activate this weekend.
Totally. And, well, the weekend that's just gone,
yes,
I think we should have played finals footy.
Yes.
Now, the theory for this is, going back in time, and Ross Lyon, I think it was 2015 or thereabouts, he... and a couple other coaches, I think Brad Scott, rested a lot of players leading into the finals. Now, the NRL coaches did exactly the same the weekend just gone, so it sort of compromised the so-called integrity. I think the alternative, and I think we saw it here in Perth by virtue of COVID, that we had a bye before the grand final. That was to allow, I guess, the 2 weeks that was required.
The hubs and bubbles
that sort of
and
pupperama that we had with McGowan, shutting down the world. But I think now's a really good chance. Not saying Laura Kane is going to make those types of decisions by herself, but Andrew Dillon, it's a new leadership group. I think there's a really strong case to go pre-grand final. Then you have your Waffle Grand Final, your Sandford Grand Final, VFL, your awards, which we've seen this week, take place in that spare week. And the biggest issue, I suppose, from a playing perspective, Scully, apart from getting your body right, is the concussion issue, which is going to raise its head. At some point, it inevitably, might be this year, will raise its head and a player will miss a grand final because of a head knock.
There's a few other things that I agree. You've been talking about the concussion issue for a while now. The other ones... This pre-finals bye, it gives the advantage to 8th spot, right? If you make finals, you get another week to freshen up. I don't think we should be rewarding 8th spot. Like that, look, you deserve to play finals, you finish in the top 8. But you don't then deserve to get the same benefits as 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 do. So there's got to be some sort of incentive to finish on top of the ladder. Now, I know that is the double chance right now, but if we're giving a bye, which predominantly, 1, is to protect the integrity of the competition, but 2... is to effectively get all of our best teams with their best players out in the park. I think that reward should be given to the 2 grand final sides, and that'll fall into what you're talking about, because this weekend's been a dead weekend of footy. Yes, the AFLW kicked off this year, and I think the AFL is looking to sort of establish a bit of a clear space for that. I've got some ideas around the AFLW season that I'm going to bring up with you a little bit later. But
timing wise of the year or what you've seen, because
timing. Should I talk about it right now? I think it's probably relevant. AFLW. So we can go through a couple of results a bit later then. But the AFLW. How about this for an idea? Why don't we play them as curtain raisers to the AFL proper? You would have been around when the VFL used to do that in Melbourne. Yeah. They used to play either a TAC Cup or a VFL game before AFL games on the MCG. I remember as a kid going and watching it, and I used to love it. And you used to get the pre-crowd in watching those games. I saw a massive crowd at North Sydney Oval for the Sydney game. They play at Adelaide, maybe. That looked great. But I looked around the competition. I didn't see huge crowds. Would we get bigger crowds and guarantee some more interest if we played curtain raisers? Because we don't do that in the AFL because every team doesn't have a aligned club. West Coast has their West Coast waffle side, but not every club has one of those. The AFLW does now. Why don't the girls play before the men?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Off the back of that, you'd have to finish matches probably an hour at least. I know there's an hour window that the AFL clubs like to get out and do some prelim work. The idea and principle looks good. How that would play out with fans at town. I know there's always an issue. I get called up by fans saying, well, I want to go and watch the AFLW or go and see the game before the Eagles play Carlton, but guess what? I've got to buy a full ticket to the whole day. In principle, though, it's sound. So therefore, you're obviously aligning their season, AFLW, more in line with the AFL. I still don't think the 10 matches is where they're at the moment. So it's obviously has to start later in the year or start about the same, and then had their grand final about now.
Yeah.
For instance, the last weekend just gone. So look, I think they're open to all sorts of ideas. The standard is always going to be difficult at the moment with the expansion to get that quality is where you'd like.
From face value off round one, it's better this year. It's already better.
Yeah.
So scoring's higher. They've brought in some rules this year. They've put an interchange cap on.
60.
Yep. They've increased the time of quarters. They've decreased the gaps in between quarters. So
what the issue they want really, and we can talk around this all we want. You need better, higher scoring
which
matches.
They've got, Skeeter.
Yeah.
So off round one, they've got exactly that. Those scores are higher than we saw last year, the year before, and the year before that. So the Derby was a little bit of a dour affair. The weather was absolutely shit out, so you couldn't actually kick into the wind. There was 27-19. That was the lowest score of the round. Go through the scores: 73-31, 58-28, 65-17, 49-30, 56-16, 51-46. There's some. They're AFL men's scores.
In a shortened version of what we see in the AFL. That being said, yesterday it was East Perth Claremont on one of the 7 stations, and obviously the AFLW Derby. I'll be fascinated with the numbers, TV numbers, because about 3,500, 4,000 went to Fremantle, about 3,000 went to Leederville. I'll be staggered if. Well, anyway, I know what I would be choosing to watch.
Tuning into Mark Reddings.
No, not me. I know. It's the quality. Scully is still... The Waffle received nothing in the West on Friday. No coverage whatsoever. 8 pays left out for the win, which is terrific they're getting that. But don't forget that the competition here is not bad. It's still pretty good, and there's no AFL on it. I wonder if we've just maybe taken our eyes off what is a really good product, and we're trying so desperately off the back of the Matildas as a media to build up the AFLW into something that it's not quite yet.
We see this across the country. The VFL doesn't get numbers to their games either. The Sandful is increased. It's good. I wonder what the Sandful does the best. Is it just because they've still got that...
Tribalness?
Yeah, that culture. Because for me, I've seen a fair few Waffle games this year. Not heaps, but I've probably been to over 6 or 7. It's a good community feeling. I just wonder what's missing from a local point of view.
That's a good question. Here. Because the quality... I mean, there's no comparison between the AFLW and a Waffle final.
Because I agree with that. But there's not 10,000 people going there.
No, because young girls are saying, I want to go and see someone that I can emulate in 10 years from now, which I get it. And don't let for 1 minute say I'm knocking the AFLW. I just think sometimes we forget that we've got a pretty good competition that has been in our backyard for a long time. It's not the AFL. But I'll tell you what, there's been a lot of good footy played, and still is over the weekend. We saw 2 games decided cumulative totals margins of 22 points. So yeah, but the AFLW, I don't mind your suggestion, But whether they would like to, I think they're caught in a spot, aren't they, of trying to get a time of the year where it doesn't get just completely swamped by AFL.
Yes.
But also not in the middle of summer where, here in Perth, you're playing at 34 degrees at 2 in the afternoon.
And you're going head-to-head with cricket, which, look, I don't think is the biggest issue in the world either, but you got to find space somewhere. I think that's actually the biggest kibosh on my idea. The AFL they want to own the whole year.
12 months of the year. Right? And even, I'm in Melbourne for the Spring Carnival. They'll drop stories and they'll do fixtures and all that sort of stuff.
We've got trade week. We've got the draft period. We've trade period. So we've got draft week. We've got that's extending. Making it more areas there. Then you got AFLW. They're trying to stretch that. You're trying to stretch and stretch and stretch. You're trying to stretch the preseason at the other end. They want to be able to talk footy 12 months a year. My idea doesn't give you that.
No, exactly. And by the way, speaking of new seasons, we'll talk about this maybe Thursday. But looking forward, you're a big Minnesota Vikings fan, so I'm looking forward to the NFL starting this Friday. The Kansas City Chiefs, the Super Bowl champs, are back in action. So we will touch on now. You're more across the NFL than I am. I do love it, but
I'm overexposed in NFL fantasy teams. I've got about 6 of them. I'm in the Shelter League, Skeeter. I emceed an event Thursday, so in the middle, I'm emceeing quite a big event, and I'm running off stage and trying to get my picks up for the Shelter the Shelter NFL draft.
Okay.
Didn't quite end up how I would have liked it, Skate, but I'll still beat those.
I'll tell you what, by the way, if you're listening, you haven't seen it on Netflix, quarterback doco of last season, Mahomes, Cousins from Minnesota, amongst those, Mariota as well, who went to Atlanta then.
Tennessee.
And now gone to, I think, Philadelphia as a backup quarterback. That's a really good doco if you get a chance to look at it.
I haven't seen you since Adam Simpson kept his job.
No, and you and I, well, I'll be honest with you, I thought he was in desperate trouble. I thought the vibe, the feeling, and when Eddie comes out, and he's well connected with certain people at the Eagles, when he comes out and is so definitive that you sort of think, well, this is a done deal. He's gone. Now, whether it was the last couple of weeks where they showed something, dare I say it, not against Adelaide but so much, but do you have a theory as to whether there was a changing of the mindset of the board or whether we in the media and the outside got it completely wrong from the get-go?
The former. Certainly not. It's certainly not the media and everyone else didn't know what was going on. Look, I've been around the group probably for the last couple of weeks speaking to a lot of people. Very well-connected man, Skeeter.
Oh, you are.
The vibe I get is there was some certain indecisions at board level. And
that's fair. You'd expect that. And when to put out the term unanimous, for me...
It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense, but also I'll be going, as an Eagles supporter, hang on a sec, if there's no dissenting voices amongst this group, I don't mind you coming out saying, we've voted for Adam Simpson to remain, but to say unanimous, I'm thinking... Wow, that's really strong, and the numbers don't add up for it being a unanimous decision, you know what I mean.
You can see the messaging that they're trying to put across, which is a united board. And
of course.
But I think you can do that, and this probably brings me to, I think what West Coast have got pretty majorly wrong this year is their communication and connection with people and stakeholders of the football club. So that's... And I'm not just West Coast with this. I don't like how some clubs in the AFL take the piss out of media, fans, people who are betting on it, fantasy, all that sort of stuff. The stakeholders that I think get absolutely wiped to the side when team selection comes out on a Friday and there's players that aren't playing that no one knows about, all that sort of stuff. But I think the communication by the West Coast Eagles this year has been poor. And I was at the Best and Fairest. I saw quite a few people up on stage talk about the inside and connection, and they want to open the doors to the club and show what's going on. What you're speaking about with the unanimous decision by the board, I think you can communicate that quite easily, a united decision, without saying it's a unanimous, there's no issue here, move on.
Yeah.
Because I think that's kind of the vibe that I'm feeling out of the club is, all right, we got Simo coaching, no issue, let's move on. It wasn't a great season, let's get on with it, which is, again, all good. You expect the club to continue to try and get better, but I don't think there's been a great deal of insight given by anyone involved.
As to the decision involved. Now, let's ask you this, being a former player, and in world sport, and given that we've been talking about NFL, Adam, look, terrific coach, premiership coach. If he hadn't won that flag in 18, clearly he would be there as we speak. That's a given. Secondly, the numbers that have been produced in the past 2 years. I know injuries have played a massive part. How many other coaches would survive that? Not many.
Well, if you think about the decision-making process that the board would have had to go through, they need to look at, one, results, clearly, which you've just spoken about. Two, you need to look at the list you've had on the park and what that list has been able to provide with the tutelage of Adam Simpson and the rest of his coaching staff and the medical staff and the app. You need to look at it holistically.
Yeah, not just one part, but there's lots of them. Yep.
So,
and there's one other alternative as well, which I throw up there. Apart from Adam Simpson, do you stick with him? Who's the alternative?
Yeah, correct.
That's the question, I think, which I'm sure has been asked, and whether they were looking at Dean Cox and thinking he's a possibility, but of course he's staying in Sydney, whether there was someone internally, whether there was someone like a Craig McRae that was out there, which I'm sure there is, whether they didn't feel comfortable enough going to market with the cost of the soft cap tax that's going to be applied on the West Coast if they'd moved Adam on. A lot of factors come into it. So I don't think it was a simple decision, but by the same token, I think it's a really courageous decision from a footy club that now has to find a way to get better. And for mine, they have to win 8 games next year to maybe put a bar and say that's where we need to get to. You can't have another 2 or 3 game win season.
So I said this last time, you either keep him or you get rid of him. They've kept him and you've got to back him in.
Absolutely.
Now, there's a few things there. I don't think we've given enough. One thing the media hasn't done is given enough clout to the fact that he's contracted. Right?
2 more years.
2 more years. And if you were to get rid of him, there was $4
million, I think.
$4 million payout.
Was the issue.
You can't just keep rolling out, well, West Coast is a rich club, they've got the money, don't worry about the money. That's $4 million. If you're running a business, any business, West Coast or other, and you've got a $4 million decision to make, that's going to come into consideration. So as far as I can tell, that was a huge part in the decision.
Absolutely.
You don't want to walk... Like, Adam Simpson's a good coach. I can tell you that. I've played under him.
Yeah,
He's a good coach. Right? And clearly the results haven't been good enough, not even close to good enough, and there's been significant frustration, not only externally but internally, with those results. I mean, and I think that's pretty much given. But you can't just go, well, let's just get rid of Adam Simpson, we'll bring someone else in. There's a cost to that. There's a cost of the money side. And like you said, you need to be able to replace him with someone better. And I don't know if that exists right now.
No, that might be the most pertinent point of all. And quickly, if they had moved him on, I think it would have been incumbent on certain members of the board who decided to give Adam that extension, if they then decided to do an about face, for them to step aside. I think that would have been incumbent upon that. You couldn't, as you say, with the financial, with the reputational damage done.
Just walk away from $4 million.
No, totally. So that hasn't happened. The board have stuck fat. It's going to be a fascinating off-season for West Coast to see what they can pick up and what they will go for draft time and maybe trade-wise.
You can't tell me, Skeet, if West Coast don't start well next year in the first 8 weeks, if there's any big losses, if they are 0-8, if you don't see improvement, and I'm not saying those things will happen, but if that happens, we're just going to be right back.
But
here.
I think there's more pressure on the board than there is on Adam Simpson.
Yeah, I agree.
Off the back of that, Simo's in a position where
Adam Simpson's proven. Just so we know, he's a proven coach. This board isn't a proven board.
Yeah, there's some very talented people on the board as well, and football people that love the game. So I'm not questioning their ability. No, but I would be loath to question the board, because you know what? I couldn't.
Everyone's questioning Adam Simpson. Why can't we question the board?
No, I think that's. But I did. I said I question the board's. There's ability on that board. I don't think there's some really fine people on the board. So I'm just talking. Yeah, I agree with you. If there's heat early next year. And they're 0-5 and the results aren't coming. The fans rallied late in the season, which was really fascinating. So there's goodwill there. But again, will they just give this a 12-month window to see where it ends up? And then obviously the payout becomes less. They have a look around for other coaches. Or let's hope the Eagles win 10 games and think, hey, this has turned around quicker than what we thought.
I just will finish on this, Skeeter.
Yep.
One piece of information I did find out was there's been significant handcuffing of Adam Simpson's ability to add anyone to his coaching staff, given he didn't know he had the job until 1 week ago. So with about 6 weeks to go in the season, or sometimes earlier, if you're looking to add assistant coaches to your assistant coaching staff, you go and approach other assistant coaches. You say, this is the deal at West Coast. We've been significantly hampered by injuries. We're a big club. We've got a fair bit of money to throw around. Why don't you come and join us and make us better? And you start selling that to different assistant coaches. There's not the same rules that there are around players with coaches. So I think that happens, right? Adam Simpson hasn't been able to do that because he's had the job. So the lack of clarity by the board, and I'm going to keep coming back to the board.
Yeah.
They're not without. You need to be able to criticise everyone here because they've got a job to do too. Because they haven't been able to give Adam Simpson the clarity to go out and make this club better. West Coast have been sitting in the mud basically,
waiting,
stuck right there, and now they can go and do it. But potentially with a few specific coaches, it's too late. They're gone.
I'll just finish with this line. 2018, win a flag, terrific. Judge the two clubs that made the grand final and what they have done since then. And Collingwood, I think it's fair to say, have played this out, the next 5 years out, far more efficiently. They've made some hard decisions. They've made some tough list decisions, and they're getting the results.
Kiss to headline the grand final, Skeeter.
Oh,
are you happy with it?
Oh, absolutely. Mate, it's outside your era, but I remember growing up with Kiss. You used to put the makeup on, I still wear makeup as well, did I tell you? But actually, that's my TV duties. But, mate, it's fantastic. I mean, crowded house. I mean, talented band, but they were a bit upset about the structure of their stage on grand final day, where it was going to be. Kiss...
Are they
up? They're great. They'll be upbeat.
Are they reviving Elvis to come and play alongside them or something? Like, honestly, Kiss.
Nothing wrong with Kiss.
Mate, they played in the 70s,
They'll be rocking the MCG.
How old are they?
Doesn't matter how old they are. They've got makeup on. No one can see that. They are going to be... Gene Simmons will... I'm telling you.
How
some
old
of their
is
rock
Gene
and roll...
Simmons?
Doesn't matter. The rock and roll they'll play... Would you rather listen to Crowded House, Kylie Minogue, or Kiss?
Gene Simmons is 74 years old.
Yeah, well, the last few concerts I've been to...
Yeah, Crowded House would be boring. Crowded House would be boring.
Kiss has got a couple of iconic rock and roll songs.
I reckon we open up with John Farnham beforehand and then we're good to go.
Just get the Yes campaign to veto that as well.
Are we allowed to talk about...
Politics?
Politics?
Where's Travis Kelce?
Can you just give us a little bit of Travis? Just to start this. Yes, no, do what you like. You know that I'm like this with everything. Honestly, like anyone can do whatever they like. Go for your life. We can sit here and talk shit about sport and it's fun. But politics and all that stuff, like religion or anything, just go for your life. Don't put ads down my throat telling me what I can and can't do. I didn't like it with COVID. I don't like the religion stuff. Mate, just let me get about my business. Would that be all right? I'll do what I like.
No, Scully. What you're missing, what is going to happen in the next month or so, you're going to see an advertising blitz by the federal government.
Aren't we fucking paying for
20 million. Speaking to mates at Channel 7, the influx of money by the government, more so than the No campaign, it is going to be like an election month where there's going to be that much. So it's only just started, Scully, so get used to it. Either just close your eyes and just drift along, as I will do, or just try and fight it. No, he's trying to fight it.
There's a pamphlet. I've read the pamphlet.
It's going to be rammed down his throat.
And I'll just, that's enough for me. I'll just make my mind up on facts.
Totally. But
why can't we do that?
Because there's a lot of people out there that are undecided, Will, and they are just...
Johnny Farnham's singing the voice down. Like, seriously, he's 70 years old as well. We should get Kiss to put
Nothing wrong with Kiss. I'll tell you. I'll give you this. I will tell you that they will be better than Crowded House in terms of getting the crowd rocking and rolling, having a bit of fun.
I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
They've got a bit of spunk. I mean, and Gene Simmons, he's betted 1,000 women. Now, that is extraordinary at the age... It might be more than 1,000 by now. Good on him.
How does he know that?
He's obviously got a little tab. He does a little calculator thing. Good on him. He's done his numbers. That's a big effort. How he's still with us is amazing. At 74, he still probably gets a couple to wander up to his hotel room in between shows.
Tell you what, that is very good gear from you, Skater. Let's get back to footy, shall we? Do you want to go AFL? You want to go local, Skate? I've got a local story to throw at you, but I've also got some big-time AFL final stuff.
Let's go finals, because that's the big talking point this week.
Nick Dacos, I saw him running before he got ruled out by the club. They had the cameras down there and he's doing his warm-ups. Mate, he could. This is like when they pulled the footage out of Nick Natanui and we said, round one, here we go, Nick Nats. Mate, and he couldn't get over the little hurdles. I saw Nick Dacos, and again, I've seen enough footy. Mate, he could barely run. I would be surprised if he's playing next week.
You're thinking...
If they lose, if they don't...
win this week?
Yeah, win this week. I don't think he'll play next week either. I think they're trying to prime him for the prelim.
Okay.
The way his gait was, right? He was hobbling. You don't get to play a game of AFL footy when you're hobbling.
And a final. Yeah, well, either respective. It's AFL, it's so quick.
He was running straight line strides, which is your very first running session back. I know that he was just running up and down straight line 100-metre strides, and he was hobbling. He's a long way back.
Yeah, speaking of long way back, so too's Brodie Grundy, with the talk just growing and growing that, of course, Melbourne playing Collingwood on Thursday, that he's already just about...
dominating the VFL.
Dominated the VFL, but talks ramping up with Port Adelaide. So I reckon he might have played... Well, if he hasn't played his last game, he's on the move.
What about a story like, Max Gawn hurts himself in this final series and a Brodie Grundy's on your list? This is why there was positives to having a Brodie Grundy around. Clearly, it hasn't worked from a performance point of view with Max Gawn, but without him, Brodie Grundy's an All-Australian ruckman.
Yeah, but you're saying to Brodie, you're there only if Max gets injured.
It was a bad move by Brodie Grundy. You can't go anywhere past that, I don't think.
No. But Port Adelaide might be his final stop in his career. I feel a bit sorry for him, to be honest. He didn't want to leave Collingwood.
Yes.
He got, obviously, either shopped around and Melbourne picked him up. And, I don't know the bloke at all, but I feel a bit sorry for the predicament he's found himself in, because he wanted to be a Magpie for life.
Collingwood, as opposed to West Coast, on your earlier point comparing the two sides, they've made some big player moves. You can remember the criticism they copped when they moved on Adam Treloar. They moved on Jaden Stephenson.
Stevenson, yep.
There was a couple more maybe that played in that grand final. Brodie Grundy played in that grand final.
There's about 11 players.
Prelim, sorry.
11 players from the 2018 grand final that are no longer in that side, which will probably play on Thursday night. So they've turned it over. I mean, we're going to Collingwood here, but they've turned that over. They've turned the board over. Coach gone, president gone. They've done a lot, which at the time went, wow, it's quite jarring. But gee, and they had to do better reports. So they've been through a lot, but they've now got some really good people in place, including Ned Kelly, Jeff Brown doing a really good job. And then you think of someone like, I know you won't probably even this won't register, Nadine Rabar, who's the media communications lady who used to be at the AFL, recruited by Collingwood, doing a super job. So they've got all the... I know it's not, off-field's not the be-all and end-all, but it certainly helps.
So I haven't heard Nadine's name before, but one thing I noticed from just watching along, their media and communications, one of the best in the business.
Terrific. They are outstanding, and she knows, she gets it.
Gets it. Very important point. Gets it. Other clubs should have a good hard look at what they're doing. Asava Ratugolea.
You did that well.
So, did I?
Yeah, you did really well.
So, I'm Skeeter. I'm happy to reveal here on the Shelter FootyCast, I'm considering another comeback. I made my comeback this year into the waffle. I retired at the end of 2020 on about 70 grand a year. If I played some games, my base was about 40. I think I could come back and play in the AFL. I'm considering a comeback. Asava Ratugolea has been offered 5 years at $700,000.
5 years?
5 years is on the table. Got Harry Mackay. He's worth a pick 3 in the national draft. There's never been a great...
Ben Mackay?
Ben Mackay. Harry's his brother. Ben Mackay, pick 3. There's never been a better time to be...
A defender.
A dour defender, mate. These blokes... Asava Ratugolea, I love watching him play. His development from up and down forward to, I think, a pretty consistent backman has been great to watch. Ben Mackay, he plays in a shit side. He gets the best players every week, and he battles pretty well. But let me get this straight: those two players, they're no stars. They are
decent money, isn't it? And it's a short career, short lifespan in footy.
Mate, but the market for key backmen right now is absolutely outrageous behaviour. And I can say I am considering a comeback. Whether it comes...
You might want to get off the piss pretty soon.
Well, thank you, Skeeter. Thank you for that feedback. I've found that interesting. West Coast are on the table if we're talking trade stuff. Devon Robertson and Tyler Brockman been...
Tyler Brockman wants to come back, requested the trade back from Hawthorn. Devon Robertson, they're talking a 4-year deal for him potentially. There was talk that he did a tour of the facilities at the West Coast. Of course, he's the nephew of Darren Glass. Yep. And I think he's... certainly his social media profile went through the roof after his jumper was...
I keep thinking maybe you should just maybe do some activations, maybe with the top off, maybe. Can we perhaps, Jaden, on socials just roll out the footage of the jetty jump?
Oh, for good. Really? Why would you need to do that?
Mate, we want to get some social following.
Oh, for God. Mate, I don't need social following. It was Father's Day yesterday. Happy Father's Day to you as well.
Skater.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just happy to get an acknowledgement from my daughters.
Occasionally.
I got some runners. Because I did a run, I started running. I did 2 laps of Lake Munga on Friday. Just a little jog. 7Ks. Yeah, just...
Might have to meet you down there.
Well, it's very slow. And the sad thing was...
What?
The sad thing was that you know when you're running, I think you're going along okay.
Yeah. Bit of bounce.
And this woman ran past me and had me covered in about 2 strides, and she was pregnant, and that made me feel a little bit self-conscious and just questioning my
Pushing another baby.
She's pushing out a baby, and I'm just struggling to. Yeah, oh, Jesus. Anyway, I've started the path towards fitness.
Health. Yeah. Cheers to health. Liam Henry, he looks like he's out the door. No real surprises there. Although I don't think that's overly positive for Freo, to be honest. He played most of the games in the back half of the season. I thought he was positive. I know some people say, "We'll see you later," but said the same thing about Blake Acres, who's went on and had I think a really big year for Carlton. Tucker's played pretty well for North Melbourne this year. These are guys that walked out the door. Logue's done his knee, and that's unfortunate, but he was going to be playing a little bit of a part. Rory Lobb, we know what he can do. They're now a key forward short, potentially. I know Jaimis has stepped up, Josh Tracy developing, but they've probably got one more key forward.
Yeah, they need to make sure they get it right again in the draft. And bear in mind, they gave up, what is it? That trade for Jackson, so Melbourne gets an early look at the draft with pick 5, I think it is.
That's a good point.
So they get shuffled back a bit. What do they need? They need more mids, I think.
More mids, you reckon?
Yeah.
Or so depth. You want depth mids.
Depth mids, yeah. I'm saying, more. I mean, Hayden Young comes in there, but I still think they're 3 or 4 quality mids away from being. I mean, you got to have, I think, 8 to 10 that can roll through there potentially.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm just thinking about
what do you think? The defence is probably...
You'd think that's shoring up, but like Alex Pearce has looked encumbered this season. Like he's looked
injured. He's been injured.
Joel Hamling, I don't think will be there.
Are you happy with the forward line, although you just mentioned that, but are you happy with the forward line?
I think forward line, that's... It's really interesting when you look at their list, isn't it? You're probably right. They need some depth in their midfield. I don't think they need stars, but
no.
They got Matty Johnson and Neil Erasmus coming through.
Will Brodie, what's happening? I mean, I've watched him on the weekend. He got a lot of the footy.
He can't defend. What I've been told, I asked the exact same questions to people who would know. He cannot defend, and he cannot run defensively. It basically requires you to play a midfield that has someone covering for him when the ball.
Which happened in 2022, then, did it?
Yeah, they would have had Dave Mundy floating around back there, and they would have had Blake Acres working pretty hard defensively from a wing. So Liam Henry and James Aish and Jordan Clark who have played on the wing a fair bit.
Yeah, very offensive.
I would say most of them are offensive. So it changes the structure and the way Freo want to play having him in the team. That's what I've been told. Yeah, whether you agree with it or not.
But I still think they need to... Yeah, Henry, not a great loss, but can they find something midfield-wise to...
Neil Erasmus and Matty Johnson, that's their depth right there.
How
much depth do you want? You can't have 10 midfielders running around.
Mate, I'm telling you, I still think that if you're comfortable with your back line, which I think...
Which were poor this year.
Yeah, they were poor, but I still think they've got the bones there, haven't they? Brendan Cox, if he stays down back, Pearce, Ryan, I mean, they've got enough there. Chapman comes back in, potentially.
They've missed Chapman.
Yeah, they've missed Chapman. So their back line's okay. Their ruck is...
Couldn't be better.
Could be better in better hands.
Does he go, Sean Darcy?
No, well, if he wants to go, then that's something that the Dockers have to deal with. I'm not letting him go.
No.
Or I'm not shopping around in any way, shape or form. He's a good ruckman. He's a great ruckman. Keep him. Use him. Make it work with Jackson.
Yes.
It can happen.
Unless you're Grundy and Max Gorn.
Yeah, well, I think Jackson's ability to play that it's slightly different mix. I'd certainly not throwing Sean Darcy to the East Coast.
Did you see the Northampton Grand Final?
I didn't see, but I heard about the drama that was associated with it.
So what's happened in this one? This is obviously local footy. Northampton, Josh Kennedy's playing for them.
Yeah. So it was a grand final. How many games did JK play for them this year?
I had a word to Josh before this grand
final.
He told me he was playing in this game. And I said, mate, what poor young kids spotted
missing out.
Taken. Yeah. Anyway, they had a few injuries coming into the game. They weren't scrapping for players. They had guys in the seconds, but anyone who was coming in was hadn't been playing a lot of the year. Josh had played 2 or 3 games during the year.
And that qualifies, obviously.
Something like that. He comes in. He only kicked 2, and one of them was in extra time. He kicked 1 for the game. So there's a multiple common medal winner, all Australian. Can't even get a kick at Northampton.
To be fair, he's probably He's I'm guessing, having a few hamburgers and
I'd kick one in the waffle. I would say kicking one in the waffle, as I did, right?
I saw the goal.
After a few hamburgers and a couple of beers. I reckon that's a better effort than kicking one for Northampton. I mean, get a kick, seriously. Anyway, the siren goes. Game over. Their opponents, who I don't know who they were.
No idea.
They win.
They thought they won.
Celebrating, carrying on, get the cup out on the field.
Was it a 1 point result? Was it
1 point?
They thought they won by a point.
Anyway, in the background, scurrying into the middle of the ground, the goal umpires come sprinting in.
To confer
the scoreboard was wrong. Scores are level.
So the bloke who's on the cans on the scoreboard.
Mark Reddings is on the scoreboard. So we're talking about the thirsty camel clanger of the week.
There it is.
Skeeter on the scoreboard's had an absolute mare. Don't run out of your favourites. Grab your shelters at thirsty camel. It's not hard. One job, Skeet. Just put the score up. Yeah. They've got everyone off the ground. They've had to clear the ground because all the crowd's on there. Yeah. Played extra time, 5 minutes each way. Northampton kicked 3. Josh Kennedy's kicked 1. 18-point winners.
Was there any angst afterwards?
I don't know.
I think there would have been angst.
All I discovered was Josh didn't play very well, so I was more than happy to
Did Lecker play in that game as well?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Harry Taylor?
Oh, yeah, Harry Taylor. So
yes.
Harry Taylor did play, yes.
I think Harry Taylor played. I mean, you're going pretty well, 3 times. How many times Harry Taylor won the flag? 2 times. 2 times, yeah. 2 times, multiple Australian at one end, and Josh Kennedy up there. Anyway, Northampton win. Did they cheat their way to the grand final? No, they didn't. That's a good win. Waffle finals, you called that yesterday.
Did both games, Saturday, Sunday. Subiaco led by 28 against Peel Thunder.
Did they win
they led by 28, yeah. There's a bit and again, the weather on the weekend, the breeze was just pumping to the right of screen. Certainly from the broadcast side, you could get some great carry with the kick. But the good thing from Peel, their victory, it came off the back of some of their local players. Jack Sears kicked 4. Blair Bell was terrific. Travis Collier, of course, just delisted or not offered a new contract. He did some really clean things. So a big win for Peel. A lot of the Peel boys, the Dockers boys were in the club rooms afterwards having a beer. Lukey Ryan, who was dressed a bit like Chris Marston the other week.
So very well.
Alex Pearce had the beanie on. So a few of the boys got
fashion parade down there, was it?
No, I don't know, but I was just there, just having a quiet beer after the game, a little shelter.
Who you were?
Well, just a cleanser, after the game, yeah.
What were you doing down there?
I just got asked to come back. But
who asked you to come down to the Peel rooms?
People into the club rooms upstairs.
Who asked you to come up there?
Oh, just associates.
Anyway. Delinquents, fellow ones.
Peel Thunder win. They go and take on East Fremantle. They're the big story of the weekend, by the way, Scully. East Fremantle. Yes. They're in the second semi-final.
What's going on?
But there's a financial audit into some payments to players in 2022. So it won't affect any penalty, which may or may not apply. It won't come into vogue for 2023, but for 2024, because it happened in 2022.
Right.
And it involves superannuation payments, I'm led to believe, to some degree. So whether there was an administrative error in terms of how much each player was paid or certain players were paid, but either way, it's a salary cap breach investigation of sorts. Right. And we know what happened to South Fremantle this year, 2-match penalty heading into this season. And obviously,
mate, Peel Thunder lost their CEO over something like this.
Yeah, so whether there's a case that some administrators at East Fremantle are under the pump. It's not great because they're the feel-good story of the competition at the moment, but there's a bit of a cloud over what happened about 12 months ago.
It's not feeling very good if you've been playing your players too much money and it's been deliberate. That's
not
if
it's a breach, they'll cop their whack.
You can say what you like, it doesn't affect this year, but I can tell you right now, at those levels of footy, if players are getting paid more, they're going to be more likely to hang around. So it'd be interesting to follow along with that because I don't have any idea what goes on.
No, that's fair enough. And just quickly, yesterday, our mate Hammer
what's happening in this game?
They were knocked out of the finals by Claremont. 12-point result. Breeze again a bit of a factor, but the Tigers just a bit too classy. Guys like Declan Hardesty kicked 2. Talon DeLacy, Zach Main-Waring was good. Ollie Eastland in the ruck was terrific.
Was there controversy?
Not really. The umpiring was, I think it was 26 free kicks to 13 in favour of Claremont. That being said, the midfield at East Perth just didn't quite click. Croden was coming back from injury. Schumacher was shut down. Hamill was solid, but they weren't as dominant as what we've seen during the year. So a young kid called Tom Graham. I'm not sure if you've heard of him, but he's a really fine. He's kicked 4 goals for East Perth, his first game for the year. Bottom line is they were top of the table midway through the season, East Perth. Fell away a bit, missed out on the double chance by percentage. So I think Ross McQueen's done a really good job, and they'll build from that. As for Claremont, they take on Subi in a first semi-final this Sunday. So, big footy final still in the waffle over the next 2 or 3 weekends.
You'll be calling that?
Be calling that one, yes.
Tell you what. Hard working, I tell you what. Okay, let's get into some other sports, Skeeter. Just a bit of a whip around here. The basketball, the national team, the Boomers. Now, I don't follow this religiously. I've seen some results. They've lost some games they should have won, and they've maybe won a game or two here and there. I think this is a great definition of why the Matildas, it was not men v women, and it was not the women's aspect that made people follow it. The Boomers are no good. They got a team full of stars. They can't play together. They're not good to watch because they're not winning, and no one wants to watch them. The Matildas are good, so we watched them. We haven't seen the crap going on that we saw for the Matildas because the Matildas were good. The Boomers are shite.
So the Matildas made it through to the quarters or semis?
Semis, mate.
So the semis. So they finished, fourth effectively in the world. That's a really good result.
But they were good to watch.
They're ranked 10th in the world.
They're winning games.
Yeah, we'll say, I think
we like winners.
The last two words sum it up. If the Boomers had won ugly against Slovenia, for instance,
yes.
would there have been an issue? No, because they're winning games.
Correct.
That's all that matters.
We
at that
like
level.
winners.
Yeah, Ben Simmons, does he strengthen them for Paris, for instance?
We like winners.
We like winners, you're right. Boomers, Brian Goorjian, I love some of his quotes. The American, he comes out, our guys, some of them at 5 minutes, they're asleep on the court. Just, all that sort of shit. I loved it. Anyway, Boomers, we move on. They're done and dusted.
We like winners. Ange Postecoglou's winning.
Loving him. 5-2, Burnley. And Ange has just got the Tottenham faithful up and about.
Yes.
First Aussie, of course, to get into the EPL. Big result for them. So they're currently near the top of the EPL ladder. Big win last night for Arsenal over Man United. It was 1-1 after 28 minutes.
Yes.
Arsenal scores twice. Once in about the 96th minute and once in the 101st minute to win 3-1 over Man United. So the Gunners going beautifully, and Man United are in 11th spot after that result last night.
I had Arsenal to win and to be more than 2.5 goals for the game, and the goal scorer in the 96th minute, the second goal, I had him for kicking a goal. So I'm well aware of everything that just happened, Skeeter, because I won.
So you're punting that late at night? Wow, that's interesting.
Sorry.
No, I'll just ask you. It's like that's.
You only punt in the
no,
daylight hours, do you?
Well, the stuff that I can see.
Is that what you- is
I
that
like
what
to try
your
and keep an eye on it.
restrictions are?
Well, you just wake up and get the result. Do you track the match during the
That's
night?
right, Skeeter. I'm an Arsenal fan, mate. I love betting on my team. I like winners too, but Ange Postecoglou going very well at Tottenham. And the last one, again, winners, the Bison.
The Bison.
The Bison. Cricket. We love his appointment as captain. He looks like he's taken that and just gone whack.
He's the most informal roundie in world cricket, isn't he? And he's just doing it brilliantly. He's led them to 3 wins in the trot and the T20s. Travis Head scored 90 off about 48 balls. Terrific. Sean Abbott was good with 4 for last night. So 3-zip in that. You're right, Mitch Marsh. It's amazing. And I'm not name-dropping here, but walking out of Lords
You're about to name drop.
about 2 or 3 months ago, this is day 2, and he's just thinking, I'm having a little break over here. Next test match, of course, he's played and scored 100, played the rest of the series, and I think, given the goodwill and how popular he is, ends up being named captain of the T20 team with Aaron Finch's retirement. So, and sometimes good things happen to good people, and I reckon he's a good person, and we're all really happy for him.
Well, we are, but that hasn't always been. You've heard him speak about it. There's been a change.
Unpopular.
But
more so from the East Coast and the shit they gave the Marsh boys and whatever. And look, sometimes it's justified. They haven't played to their potential, but Mitch. You just can't dislike him, and even now it's like the quote he gave. I think going back, he said, I was the most hated cricketer in Australia, etc. The fact he's able to articulate that and have a smile on his face, he's a lovable bloke, and I think whatever angst or anger or whatever it was towards the Bison, that's turned around, and his 100, of course, in the Ashes certainly helped that.
I want Bison t-shirts. I want a big Bison, and I want to wear it everywhere. We love the Bison.
We love the Bison.
We didn't speak about the West Coast best and fairest at all.
Tim Kelly? Yeah.
I mean.
Well, let's break it down. Wins by 37 votes from Oscar Allen. It's no surprise. He was
Tim Kelly was outstanding.
22 games. He played at 23. All the numbers are good. I only learnt that he had a new fitness regime, someone to help him with his running, which is interesting. He said it's his best year. Of course, he was a 2019 All-Australian. And I suppose when you go back to break it all down, Tim Kelly, not his fault, but what he was brought to WA for and what the Eagles gave up has always been the issue with a 6-year contract. Was it 2 first-rounders, 2 second-rounders?
They've got a best and fairest into the club.
Absolutely. So, look, has it squared away? I think we're at the point now where we can say it's a good call.
He's their best player.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was thinking exactly the same thing when he was up there speaking. I was there, Skeeter, carrying on a pork chop. You did. That's good. I just thought that. I said, well, they've done the trade. They've got the best player at the club. I think he's had other good years at West Coast as well. It's not a standalone good year. No. I think he's been pretty good. Hasn't had the consistency he's had this year. Oscar Allen, like you said, comes second. 53 goals, something like that.
How did Simo speak, by the way?
Simo's vibe was really good. He seemed happy, and I don't know if he was trying to sound happy or he is happy, but he sounded quite positive about.
I'm not trying to make this sound, but he's
been through
walking
a lot.
On the plank, wasn't he?
He's been through a lot the last 12 months probably, but yeah, he was trying to sell optimism, and I mean sell by that's just how coaches operate in the AFL. They're always trying to sell something, whether it be a vibe or whatever it is, and he was trying to be really optimistic, and so I thought his speech was quite good. Yeah, I liked Simo, how he spoke. Oscar Allen second, Liam Duggan I thought was outstanding this year. He was third. Jaden Hunt, maybe some people didn't have him in their top 5, but if you think about the year he's had, I think he's been clearly a find.
Yeah, and off the back of that, now I'm just looking in my memory bank at the list of vote winners, and the leading young player, as in sort of first year player as such.
Longy.
You're thinking Ginby, you're thinking Hewitt,
Longy.
But Noah Long, I think equal 9th.
Yeah, so
that's a great reward for him.
Well, I love it, and they love him. They love the positions he gets himself to. He's a consistent player, and it'll mean that as his career goes on, he'll play some great footy because he just does the right thing more often than not, and then that's his biggest strength. And we've seen different guys come through the footy club, but people that spring to mind that have that quality, that do the right thing more often than not, Shannon Hearn would be at the top of that list. If you think about Shannon Hearn, yeah, he had a big kick, but other than the big kick, his strengths, he didn't have the speed or the step he was just consistent. Just always did the right thing. That's what they like about Noah Long, and I'm not putting them together.
And he's still got a fair way to go before he's an elite small forward.
Bailey Williams, very stiff to miss out on a top 5. He missed by 1 vote, 6th.
Okay. Yeah. Did he win an award of any sort during the night?
No, he didn't, which I thought was stiff as
Best
well.
Best club man?
Shannon Hearn.
Yep.
Shannon Hearn was 5th in the best and fairest of 13 games, which, yeah, I'm not quite sure. Yeah, I don't know, but that's what that happened. Shannon Hearn was up there 3 times, so he had his retirement speech, he had his best clubman, and he had his number 5. So by the third one, he just said, "Thanks, have a great night, all the best." Yeah, I think that's pretty fair, best and fairest. Andrew Gaff was in the top 10.
Wow, that's considering the criticism that came his way for so much of the year.
I think he finished off pretty well.
Yeah, and look, bear in mind what coaches voting for at club champion award nights is sometimes not. It's a formula which is a bit different to some.
I don't like it. I don't like it. The coaches vote. All 5 of them vote. They have 3, 2, 1, or 0 to give, so you can play a game and get a 0.
Did you get any zeros?
Oh, mate, absolutely. I got some zeros, buddy. I was lucky to get 1 vote, but the 1 vote's a classic because. So if you see 1 vote next to someone's name, it means 4 of the coaches are giving you a 0, and someo's just giving you a petty 1 vote.
Like a sympathy vote.
Yeah, it's very good. Will Schofield, Mark Reddings, Shelter FootyCast. You get your listener questions in. If you want to ask us a question, you can send them to our email, footycast@shelterbrewing.com.au, or just DM us on Instagram, which is Shelter FootyCast, or you can put something in the comments down below of the YouTube page. Now, this comes in from Larry the Loose Lemon. Skeeter. Scoey, did you notice a difference in the way you/the club trained once the regular season was finished and you were into the finals? What, if anything, changed at training? For example, intensity, culture, method, recovery, etc. Also, thank you, boys, for a ripper year talking footy on the podcast. This podcast has skyrocketed Mark Reddings' career.
Has it really? I hope on a Logie Award yet, Peanut, so I actually have done something prior to this, haven't I?
It was plateauing, though.
That's a fair call.
Very good. Thank you, Larry. Finals footy. Yeah, I mean, certainly at the club, the boys haven't seen it for a little while, but they used to, one thing I do remember, day 1 of sort of finals, so on the Monday, once you qualify for finals, the marketing department would come through and completely deck the hallways in sort of
paraphernalia.
Yeah, I find like there'd be balloons, there'd be streamers, there'd be big banners of players. Like it would sort of transform the club into and that was a Simo.
Yeah,
Simo
but you know what? And even from a journalist point of view, going to the first day of training on the week of a final in Perth,
Yeah.
whether it's West Coast, whether it's at Fremantle, it's just, and if it's a nice sunny day and the springs, it's just a great buzz. It's a different vibe. There's a lot of energy about the place. So whether it changes the training loads, I would have thought you're certainly not doing any more than what you have done during the year, surely.
No, certainly not doing more, but training doesn't change too much. I would say the two things that change is the focus. So you can just sense, like you said, you can sense a focus and intensity at training. Also, I think from a coaching point of view, in the season, you get so caught up with next week, whereas in finals, you win or you go home. So there's an incredible focus on the team you're playing. You get more vision, you get more stats, you get more chance to beat your man as a backman. You know exactly how they play. I'm not saying you don't know that during the year, but there's always sort of, you look you almost sometimes look too far ahead or in blocks, whereas finals, you need ultimate focus on winning that game.
And I imagine keeping your routine pretty much stock standard is crucial. There's no point getting all funky around finals in terms of what you do and how you go about your business.
I've spoken about it grand final 15 to 18. So I turned my phone off on Wednesday of 2018 because 2015 it was just crazy. Everyone, which is fair enough. Everyone wants to tell you their well wishes and get tickets and all this stuff. And I got a bit carried away in 2015. So that's going on from normal finals. Grand final week's crazy, but it's where you want to be. You want to be.
You'd rather be there than sitting drinking.
Yeah,
shelters with all due respect on a Monday.
Yeah.
At the moment,
grim. Skeeter, that's us done and dusted.
Quick shout out. We know we get some people coming to us. Jason Best, works in the hospitality industry. I did a function recently, and he loves our work. And we like to have people come up and say good day and pass on their best. So Bestie, he loves his cricket. He texts me. We were communicating when I was in Paris after the Lord's Test match. Anyway, I just
honestly,
just a battler doing his best. Man of the people, I like to say.
Does Bestie get you into? Does he get you?
No.
What's he got in return for that?
Of the Shelter FootyCast.
That's right.
And as I said, man of the people like to acknowledge those that I come into.
Why does the man of the people manage to weave in Paris this, the Ashes that, box this, box that?
No, I'm just.
You're far from it. That's what you are.
Trying to get from week to week, paycheck to paycheck.
Socials, Shelter FootyCast on Instagram. Find us there. YouTube. Skeeter and I are done and dusted. Nice jacket today, mate. By the way,
puffer jacket, like out of Seinfeld.
Puff Daddy. Skeeter.